welcome back to Top 5 Mondays. We took a week's break last week, which no one seemed to actually notice. I guess it wasn't that big of a deal as I thought it was. I was annoyed that I couldn't make one last week, but there you go, we're back this week, and I'm talking about my top 5 favourite Breaking Bad episodes. I just finished watching the 2-hour documentary on the bonus disc that came with the Barrel box set, and it was just absolutely fantastic. Brilliant documentary. I'll probably talk about that more at some point in another video, but suffice it to say I've been going back and looking through the Blu-rays in the Barrel set and, you know, watching some of the commentaries, things like that, and I decided to make a video talking about my top 5 favourite episodes, so let's get right into it. 5. The episode in Season 3 entitled Fly. Now of course it goes without saying before I even get started that spoilers, you know, you have to have seen the whole show to really to not be spoiled, I guess. I might touch on things. I'll try not to, but we'll see how it goes. Fly, I think it's episode 10 of Season 3, something like that. Directed by Rian Johnson, one of my favourite directors right now, who directed Looper, Brick, and The Brothers Bloom, I think, and he directed this episode. And he did a great job, and what I love about this episode is that it's Walt and Jesse, Bryan Cranston, and Aaron Paul in the super meth lab for 45 minutes just kind of acting. You know, and usually TV shows, they have these episodes, they call them bottle episodes sometimes, where they need to cut money, you know, on a particular season of television, so they have one episode that takes place in one location with a few of the actors. Doesn't cost as much as a normal episode with many different locations and set pieces and stuff like that. In this case I think it was done more of a stylistic choice, and I love these kind of episodes, and just from recent memory, not to go too far out of what we're talking about, but there's an episode of Family Guy with just Brian and Stewie in a bank vault for 40 minutes, which is amazing. And there's also an episode of The Walking Dead in Season 3 where it's just Rick, Carl and Michonne and another character for the whole episode, and I love that one as well. And this is similar, you know, Walt's dealing with a lot of guilt of what happened at the end of Season 2, and also what's been going on with him and Jesse and their relationship, and Gus and Mike and, you know, Skylar and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really interesting episode where they're trying to catch this fly, which is kind of comedic, but as it progresses it gets more dramatic with what they're talking to each other about, and the frustrations and the tensions that goes up and down. It's just a brilliant episode. A lot of people hate it, but I love it. Yeah, for me, great episode. 4. Dead Freight. This is an episode in the first block of Season 5, and it's just a fantastic episode, just basically based on the set piece that it's all building up towards, where Walt, Jesse, what's his name? Todd and Mike, and also that guy, you know, the other guy, the ginger guy. They're all kind of, and of course Lydia. They're all working together to basically steal methamphetamine from a train. And I just love the way it's almost like a western, you know, and they do it out in the middle of the desert, and there's the preparation, you know, the conception, the preparation, and then the actual event itself, and it's just such a tenseful, is tenseful even a word, a tension-filled set piece where they're stealing all this methamphetamine from a train whilst at the same time putting water into it. And, you know, this other guy's trying to hold up the train at the other end, and Mike's there, and he's got the walkie-talkie, and he's like, "You gotta go now," and Walt's being greedy. He wants to get every last drop of the methamphetamine, and it's just it's a really tense moment, but it's just a great episode. All in all, it's one of my favourites. I just love the whole dynamic of that scene. It's brilliant. 3. 4 Days Out. This episode is very similar to the number 5 in this list, which is Fly, which just contains Walt and Jesse primarily, and it's in Season 2 where Walt and Jesse go out into the desert in the RV to cook meth all weekend long. You know, he lies to Skylar, says he's flying out to visit his mum, and they just go off into the desert in the RV, and the RV breaks down. They're in the middle of nowhere, and, you know, they lose the phone reception, the phone battery, and then they're out there for, like, you know, 3 or 4 days, something like that. And the way they kind of have to kind of survive, basically, Walt kind of coming to terms and the realization of how, you know, his mortality is creeping up on him, and why he's doing this and all that kind of thing, and I just love the dynamic between the two actors always, so it's great to just have a full episode with those, and it's my favourite Walt and Jesse episode, and it's one of my favourite episodes in general. It's brilliant. 2. Face Off. It is the final episode of Season 4, which until the last 8 episodes aired back in September of 2013, I thought that Season 4 was the best season of TV I'd ever seen. And they just perfectly wraps it all up. You know, the final kind of confrontation, although it's not really even a confrontation between Walt and Gus, or the final move in their epic chess match that was going on. You know, the cat and mouse game, the battle of the wits, and you know, all the little twists and turns that go on through Season 4, and it all comes to a head with Hector, and it's just fantastic. Just such a great episode, and also just at the end as well, that little shot where you kind of realise that Walt did poison Brock, and there's that slow zoom in on the lily of the valley that was in Walt's garden, and that was kind of foreshadowed. I think it was either the episode before or the episode before that, where he's spinning the gun around in this garden, and it points towards the lily of the valley, and he looks at it, and there's a significant look. And when you first watch it, you haven't got a clue what's going on until Jesse actually says at the end of episode, at the end of the season, you know, oh yeah, they said it was lily of the valley. You know, just some and again, it was just a really ingenious kind of, because it's all building towards this thing with Gus, and it literally explodes, and it's like just a, you know, and it ends, and it's like whoa, and then Walt's on the phone, and he's like, I won. And it's like, yeah, and it's like, oh, but it's terrible. And then just the final, just little stab in the end is he poisoned that little kid. Fuck. And then it's like, you know, see you in about 1.5 years or however long it was before Season 5. It was a great end to the season and just a fantastic episode. I love the moment where Gus is preparing himself to walk over to the retirement home, and then he's walking, and there's this song called Goodbye playing, and it's just a really, really epic scene. Love it. 1. For me, my favourite episode of Breaking Bad, if you watch my other Breaking Bad videos on my channel, you probably guess it. It is episode 16 of Season 5, or episode 6 of Season 5B, or episode 6 of the final season, Ozymandias. It's just about the greatest episode of TV I've ever seen in my life, just in terms of the raw emotional impact that this episode has. Although if you were to watch it out of context, it probably wouldn't have the same impact. But for me, after going through this whole journey with Walt, with Hank and Jesse, and to a lesser degree Gomi, it really builds up to this point where it just all comes to a head, and it all just goes to hell. It all falls to shit. And usually, you know, the best act in a play or in a film is the act where everything goes to shit, you know. And the same can be said for films like, you know, Empire Strikes Back. Ends on such a down note, everything falls apart, and then you've got to wait 3 years for the culmination. And this was really it's hard to say it was the act 2 of Breaking Bad, but it was really just the final kind of, well, not even the final moment of despair, but really just like it was the pinnacle of Walt's kind of all the consequences, you know, of everything, all the actions that Walt had done. It all comes to a head at that moment where Hank gets shot, and it's the first time that Walt is really, truly, and utterly just broken. And you know, from that moment on, everything's changed, and there's no chance of anything going right after that. There's no happy ending at that moment. The moment that Uncle Jack pulls that trigger, there's no hope for Walt and a happy ending, riding off into the sunset. And that was what was just so heartbreaking and horrible about it, but it's kind of really what he deserved. So there's so many conflicting emotions, and Jesse gets enslaved by the Aryans, the Nazis, whatever you want to call them. And then just the going back to the family, you know, and the confrontation with Skyler and Walter Jr. when he finds out, and you know, that phone call at the end is one of the best pieces of acting I've ever seen. But I've given a full, like, massive review on this. You can go check that out on my channel, or just search for it. And I go far in depth, because there's so many things that the director Rian Johnson did in this episode that were just amazing, and there's just so many little references and visual things that you might not pick up on the first time round that really just make it such a rich, layered episode. outside of all the drama and all the craziness, there are just so many little things that are really, really cool about this episode. And for me, it is the best episode of the series, and definitely my favourite anyway, if not the best. Fantastic episode, Ozymandias. Those are my top 5 favourite Breaking Bad episodes. Let me know if you have any of them, or what are your favourite episodes. Yeah, that's it for this week. Yeah, there's a few videos that come this week. There always is. I got another unboxing video coming. I might put up my full Blu-ray collection video soon. Maybe. We'll see what happens. I've got a PS3 update video. God, there's loads of stuff. Loads of stuff. Just, yeah, keep tuned, I guess. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time, as always.
He says he's really cool, but I think he's a tool. Even though I'm sure he's a quite nice guy, really. He's a quite nice guy, really.